Going into his sophomore season for Indiana basketball, is Mackenize Mgbako ready to take it to the next level?
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen each and every day. We are, of course, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Terms apply. Go to GameTime.com. Well, appreciate you all being here on the Friday edition of Locked On Hoosiers. It's been a crazy week, but hope you're doing well. And again, appreciate you being here. Shout out to all my everydayers, those of you that come back each and every day right here on Locked On Hoosiers, whether you're on audio or right here on the video as well. Thank you so much for adding this to your rotation and making it your first listen each and every day. Is Mackenize Mgbako, the sophomore who was the McDonald's All-American, 5-star super freshman coming in that had overly high expectations, who struggled at the start of the year and got better as the year went on, is he ready to take that sophomore leap, right? We see one of two things a lot of times with these types of players. You'll see them take a huge jump in their sophomore year, or sometimes even into their junior year, or sometimes it's called the sophomore slump, right? Where they kind of take a step back and they struggle a little bit and things just don't go their way. So which way will it be for Mackenize Mgbako? We're going to talk about that today here on the show. Plus, it's a huge weekend for Indiana football in terms of recruiting, including, yes, 5-star quarterback Julian Lewis is here starting on Friday. Yes, today he will be in Bloomington for his official visit this weekend. Plus, we've got some game times for Indiana football. Their first 3 games have been announced for the game times, so looking forward to that, and we'll talk about that near the end of the show as well. Before we get into all of that, though, did want to shout out the Indiana baseball team who is getting underway in Knoxville this weekend today for the Knoxville Regional in the NCAA tournament. So we talked about them a little bit this week and wanted to shout them out again as they get going today on Friday against Southern Miss. That game will be at 1 o'clock Eastern time, 12 o'clock Central time. Then on Saturday, they will play either Tennessee or Northern Kentucky, depending on who you beat and who wins or loses, right? So hopefully we get the win over Southern Miss, and then we go and take on what was more than likely the number 1 overall seed in the tournament, the Tennessee Volunteers at their place. So we'll keep you updated. Be sure you're tuning into that, watching that, keeping up with that as much as possible. But I did want to shout them out really quickly. Mackenize Mgbako was a player that came into Indiana basketball and had really high expectations. We wanted him to be great. We wanted him to be a superstar right away. And it was hard for him to get settled in. The game was moving really fast for him. It was really tough for him on the defensive side of the floor, and it just wasn't working out. And if you've been here long enough, you know that I was somebody who was extremely hard on Mackenize Mgbako. I said, look, it's just not working right now. Maybe put him on the bench, maybe bring him off the bench to take a little pressure off of him and play him less minutes. And I believed that. At the time, I believed that because it just wasn't working. He wasn't getting in a flow. He wasn't having fun. And there were times, not the entire time, but there were times where he was a liability on the floor. But as the season went on, he got better. He got more comfortable. He got more confident in the offense. And heck, even got better on the defensive side of the floor as well, and became a really good player for our Indiana Hoosiers. At the end of the year, he averaged 12 points per game, 4 rebounds, was averaging just under 40% from the floor, 82% from the free throw line. He was our best free throw shooter by a mile, and 33% from the three-point line. And his second half numbers were really, really good, better than the first half by a lot as well. And so what are the expectations for Mackenize Mgbako moving into his sophomore year, right? That's the big question is, okay, what do we expect to see from Mackenize Mgbako? Because his role is going to be basically the same there's just a lot more star power on this team now. You're still going to have a big 7-footer down low, and you still have Malik Renew as a big forward. And Mackenize Mgbako is still going to be your 3. And now you've got 2 elite guards that can help him set him up and get him more involved in the offense. But is it crazy to think that and kind of be a little worried that he could get lost in this offense, that between Myles, Rice, and Cannon Carlisle, who are going to give you so much more production at the guard spot than the previous guards did, on top of Malik Renew continuing to be aggressive, and hopefully Oumar Ballo being aggressive as well, is it too crazy to say that Mgbako could almost get lost in this offense? I don't know. And I hope not, because I still believe that he could be one of, if not the best 3-point shooters on this team this year. And it just depends on what the offense looks like and how they kind of adjust. Is he going to be a stand in the corner and kind of wait on it type of 3 and have the ability to dribble drive on the baseline or go around his defender or maybe even back cut on the baseline, like those types of plays? Or are they going to have him coming up and setting screens and having pick and rolls and having him be in a big time motion offense? I don't know what we're going to see. I'm curious, because you have guards that can operate those things. I hope that they allow him to shoot. I hope we see him get the ball in his hands and put it on the floor a little bit more, be more aggressive with it in his hands, because he's a really good player. And I think he has an opportunity to be one of the best players on this team this year as a sophomore who was a big-time high school recruit. Here's what Mike Woodson said earlier this week about him quickly. He said, it was a question about what does Mackenize Mgbako need to do to have a successful sophomore season. Said, just keep working, says Mike Woodson. Quote, you guys were down on him earlier in the season when he was struggling, and it's a process. You'd think because a guy wears a 5-star, 4-star ranking that they can come into college and tear it up. It's not that easy. It's no different than going from college to the NBA. It's a learning curve. I don't give a how good you are. You have to learn, and it was learning curve for him. It was an eye-opener for him because he did struggle early, but he just kept working and working and working, and he got better. I can't help but think he's going to continue to get better, and I agree, and I hope he does. And, shout out to Mackenize Mgbako, too, who came back to Indiana. He came back here to Bloomington with a lot of unknowns, with a lot of question marks on what this roster was going to look like. And he trusted Mike Woodson. He trusted this staff, and he came back to Indiana to run it back and get another season, because I think he truly believes that he can get to the next level by playing with Indiana across his chest, with wearing these colors and playing inside of Assembly Hall and representing Indiana. I think he believes he can get to the NBA by being here. So shout out to Mackenize Mgbako. I'm excited, man. I really want to see him flourish. But the good news is, before we wrap this up, he doesn't have to be Superman. He doesn't have to be your go-to guy time and time again. He doesn't have to be the one to bail you out on threes like he did a year ago. There are other scorers. There are other shot makers. There are other playmakers on this team now, more than there were last year by a lot. So you don't have to rely on him. And so maybe the pressure's not on him. Maybe he comes in very open, relaxed, and just confident in his game, in the offense that's going to work through him at some points, and he can come in and truly have a sophomore surge. I think he will. I really, really do. And I'm excited to see what Mackenize Mgbako does in year 2 here in Bloomington. Well, coming up on Locked On Hoosiers, big weekend for Indiana football. Massive recruits are on campus, including 5-star quarterback Julian Lewis. We'll talk about him and the others that'll be on campus this weekend for head coach Curt Cignetti next here on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time makes getting NBA Finals tickets even faster and easier. And it's set. It is Boston and Dallas. So, look, if I have any listeners in those areas and you want to get some NBA Finals tickets, please go to GameTime.com. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. Good news is it is baseball season. You got those things going on, comedy events, theater events, musicals, whatever you want to do. Game Time is the place for you. You can use the app for last-minute ticket deals. They have flash deals, even some zone deals as well. So if you buy at a specific spot, you'll get a discount on the Game Time app. Plus, my favorite part, the views from all seats in every single venue. It's right. It's accurate. It is to a T. The view that you see is what you will have when you walk inside of that venue. Save up to 60% off of buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more on the Game Time app. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA Finals tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here. Truly making this your first listen each and every day. If you're on audio, be sure you follow us on there. Turn on notifications. That way you never miss a new episode of Locked On Hoosiers. And if you're on YouTube, be sure you like the video, send it out to your family and friends, and subscribe to the channel. All you got to do, click on our channel logo and hit subscribe. It really is that easy. You'll have every brand new episode sent straight to your phone via notification, so you never miss a new episode as well. And it helps us grow here at Locked On Hoosiers as we are making a surge to 3,000 subscribers. So thank you so much for being a part of that. Well, as we look on the football side of things, next two segments will be football here on Locked On Hoosiers. Big weekend in terms of recruiting for head coach Curt Cignetti in the 2025 class. There are tons of players that are going to be on campus this weekend of May 31st into the 1st of June, which is insane to say, but so many big name players that are going to be here. And we'll kind of run through them quickly. You have a 4-star defensive back in Byron Baldwin, who will be here from the state of Maryland. He is a guy that plays a lot of safety. He's somebody that is considered Indiana and in the 200s, I guess, in national prospects, but a 4-star defensive guy, shoot. Indiana will take all the guys we can get, right? So 4-star guy that's being considered and has offers from a lot of big name places: Minnesota, Wisconsin, Kentucky, Tennessee, James Madison. So former offer from former head coach Curt Cignetti. So keep that one in mind. Byron Baldwin, Jalen Bell, the 3-star defensive back from the state of Georgia, where it seems that we continue to go down and at least look at some guys in that state. And if you haven't noticed what's going on in Georgia, they've got some serious high school talent down there. So Jalen Bell, a 3-star defensive back. A 3-star defensive lineman from Nashville, Tennessee, Antonio Carter Jr., who is somebody that is flying under the radar, in my opinion, a guy that has offers from Maryland, of course, Indiana, Duke, North Carolina. You have Liberty on there, Kentucky. Or Eastern Kentucky. So many big name schools here for a guy that's the 35th best player in the state of Tennessee, who, again, the South has some serious talent in football, so he'll be on campus, a 3-star defensive lineman, a 3-star offensive lineman, and Justin Bell from Dakota High School. And you have a couple running backs that are going to be on campus this weekend. You have another 3-star defensive back in Chris McCorkle. So big names, right? And there's a lot more that I could run through. But the highlight, the big one, the one that everybody has been talking about is the 5-star quarterback, Julian Lewis. And yes, we understand the situation, right? The coaching connections, the former connections in high school. We have all of those things. We know those things, right? And it's been a pretty popular opinion that he is visiting Indiana to basically say he did and do a favor to this coaching staff. And you know what? Even if that's the case, even if that is what's happening here, who cares? Who cares? You've got in my opinion, the best quarterback recruit in the country in 2025. And he has decided to take an official visit, which that doesn't mean as much anymore since the numbers don't add up and you don't have to worry about you're limiting them and between the athlete and the school. And anyway, he has decided to take an official visit to you, and he's going to visit Indiana. And he's going to come on campus, check out the facilities, talk with the coaches, and Curt Cignetti and his staff have a chance to sit down and lay out their plan in front of him. They have a chance to sell him. And look, is he going to pick Indiana? No, probably not. But you at least have an opportunity. You have a chance. You have a chance. He has given you an opportunity to lay it out in front of him and say, all right, show me what you got. And that's what Curt Cignetti and this staff have to do. He is a superstar, and he's very young. Remember, he reclassified from 2026 into 2025. So a guy that should still be going back for 2 more years of high school is about to wrap it up this season. He's unbelievable, man. He is unbelievable. He looks like a Kyler Murray, only a little bit bigger and a little bit better. That's the comparison that I have made. Is he's got the arm, he's got the legs, he's got the scramble, he's got the brains, he's got the IQ, he's got it all. He has everything you want in an electric high school 5-star recruit quarterback coming into the college game. Now, we also understand that he's all of his official visits are USC, Indiana, Auburn, and Colorado. And it seems to be that, he's still committed to USC. Don't forget that. But it seems to be that Auburn is in the driver's seat to flip him from USC, and that it would probably be USC to get him. Most people would have Colorado third, and most people have been putting Indiana at the bottom. But he's going to be here. And whether he commits here or not, whether he even likes it here or not, you've got to put on a good show and just prove that you can have guys like this. Prove that you know how to host a guy like this, because this is a new staff at a new place, man. This is their first real opportunity to host a big name player like this. And, use it as a litmus test. Use it as a warm up. I don't know. I mean, just get all the jitters out of the way, if you will, and get your feet underneath you. And these guys know how to host somebody. I'm not saying they don't. But this isn't just anybody. This isn't a 3-star defensive back. This is a 5-star quarterback, the most highly rated quarterback in the class, who is going to be on campus this weekend. But I will say this too. You cannot neglect the other guys that are on campus this weekend too, because there's a dozen other guys that are going to be here on top of Julian Lewis. And so a couple of commits that Indiana has, a lot of defensive players, which is really exciting for me as well. So overall, it's a big weekend for Indiana football recruiting. Yes, it is highlighted by Julian Lewis. And I'm going to tell you not to get your hopes up. I think most people are already in that boat. I think most people understand what this is, but you never know. At least he's going to be here. At least he's on campus. At least you have a chance to show him what you have and how you can benefit him more than the other places. You can truly sell him on, man, you will be the superstar here. There ain't nobody else like you going to be here. I promise you that. I can promise you, you will be the guy and have full range to do whatever you want. And if you sell him that, maybe he'll buy it. I don't know. But a big weekend for Indiana football and head coach Curt Cignetti in Bloomington for football recruiting. Well, coming up in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, a little bit more football as we have some game times now announced for the first 3 games of the season. Gets me excited a little bit. We'll talk about those when the Hoosiers will be kicking off their first couple of games. A big one in that rotation as well. Plus, look at some of the other games on the schedule too. That's coming up in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Last segment here on the show. Happy Friday. Appreciate you being here again, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. Well, we now have some kickoff times for Indiana football as they will be getting underway on August 31st. That's Saturday. We're like 90 days away from that now, which is insane to me that we're 3 months out from, literally 3 months, right? June, July. 3 months now from the start of football season. Basketball season, it feels like it just ended, but yet here we are. Tomorrow is June 1. Unbelievable. But here's what Indiana's got for their first 3 games of the 2024 football season. Indiana will play Florida International. That'll be on that Saturday, August 31st at Memorial Stadium. That'll be a 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central Time kick. So mid-afternoon, that's cool. That's fine. Mid-afternoon, you're probably not going to get too much action under the lights in that type of a game, but that's an important one for the Hoosiers to get off to a good start. You remember last year, the start of non-conference play was, it was terrible. It's scary. It was ugly. It was bad. And that really kind of told us what we were getting into for the season. And so hopefully Curt Cignetti and his new staff can come in and get off to a good start, get a lot of these new faces on the field, see what we've got. And this is truly your, okay, let's get all the bugs out of the way. Let's get all this stuff gone because we've got a big game coming up in just a couple of weeks. So the first game at home, Florida International, 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central at Memorial Stadium, of course, here at home in Bloomington. You start off 2 games in a row at home because the second game will be under the lights. It will be a night game. Indiana hosting Western Illinois. That'll be a 7 Eastern, 6 Central game here at home in Memorial Stadium. So you get the mid-afternoon game, and then you get the night game, and you have a chance, and you should go 2-0. You should be 2-0, work out a lot of things, work in some new guys, work in new plays. Just, again, you have so many transfers coming in, and you got your high school players coming in as well. There's a ton of new faces on this team. You have to have these first couple games to just get it all meshed and blended together a little bit and truly see what you've got. And these first 2 games are important because the third game, right out of the gate in Big Ten play, you will be in California on September 14th on Saturday night. Oh, did want to mention too, the Western Illinois game. That is a Friday night game. We got another one of those this year. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it, but it is what it is. They don't ask me when they're making these schedules. Seems to be a trend here recently. I don't know. I think it's dumb, but it is what it is. Then September 14th, again, you're going to be in California at the Rose Bowl in your first Big Ten game of the season when UCLA will be hosting the Indiana Hoosiers, which just seems so weird, right? It seems so odd for this to be a conference game. This is not a random non-con game. This is Indiana opening Big Ten play on the road in California, taking on UCLA. That is, of course, a night game. So didn't make it any easier on us as Indiana people, but that'll be on NBC. So that's part of that TV deal. And that's a huge part of all these kickoff times and things, folks. It's all about television. It's all about what channel has the rights, what channel picked what game, and when do they want to put it in the most primetime time slot. So at least we'll be primetime Saturday night on NBC, Indiana and UCLA. That is September 14th. That's a Saturday, week 3, game 3 for Indiana football, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, out in California taking on UCLA. What a big opportunity that is. What a huge opportunity that is to go out there and maybe introduce UCLA to the Big Ten. And I know Indiana hasn't been. We have not been the top dog of the Big Ten Conference, but you have a chance to go out and get a massive win. Make a statement for Curt Cignetti, for Indiana. To heck with UCLA. We don't care about them. It's about us. It's about going out and getting a big-time win to get the season really rolling. You should be 2-0 by that point, right? You should absolutely be 2-0. And as I will pull up UCLA's football schedule, because I don't know their first 2 games of the year, but I assume they'll be 2-0 when Indiana comes to town. They apparently have their bye week is week 2 for UCLA. Is that what I'm looking at here? They play Hawaii on August 31st. Then there's no game. And then they play Indiana on September 14th. Because reminder, each team's going to get 2 byes. And so, yeah, that's what it's. Wow. And their second one is the end of October. How about that? Well, that doesn't make me feel great. I don't know how that. Wow. I don't think I would like that. A bye week in week 2. Hey, whatever. I mean, they'll get to use it and prepare for us, I guess. So that doesn't make me extremely happy, but it is what it is. Other games on the schedule that we don't know the kickoff times for. Here's the rest of the schedule quickly here. Indiana will come back home and host Charlotte. Then we get to host Maryland in our second Big Ten game. Hopefully that'll be like an evening night game there on September 28th. Then on October 5th, you go on the road to Northwestern, which if you saw those pictures yesterday, will not be a hostile environment. It'll be weird, but it won't be a hostile environment. Our first bye week will be on October 12th. October 19th, you'll have us on the road. We'll be home versus Nebraska. That'll be on October 19th. Then Indiana will host Washington. Excited for that. So our first visitor from the Pac-12 will be here, right? You'll be at UCLA. That'll be your first game from a former Pac-12 team. But your first Pac-12 team coming here will be Washington. So excited about that one, October 26th. November 2nd, you'll be at Michigan State in East Lansing. November 9th, you will be home for Michigan. That's a big-time game in late and early November. Your second bye of the year will be November 16th. So again, you do have 2 bye weeks this year. So you have that second one on November 16th. And I like that because you'll be coming off a stretch of Nebraska, Washington, Michigan State, and Michigan. You need a bye after that before you unfortunately have to travel to Ohio State before coming home and hosting Purdue to end the season. I like the schedule. It's fun. It's tough, but it's intriguing to me. And I'm excited about the football season getting underway in 3 months. Yes, August 31st is when we get started, but heck, college football starts before that. They've got the week 0 games, and they have week 1 expanded to about 6 days now. So we're so close. I mean, the summer's going to fly by. College football will be here before you know it, and then college basketball will be here before you know it as well. And we'll have all of it for you right here on Locked On Hoosiers. Well, I appreciate you being here again. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you being here all week. Been a crazy week. I know we had the holiday. I had an emergency come up this week, so I do appreciate you hanging on with me. And we'll be back next week for hopefully some good news from over the weekend, more big storylines as we move into June and talk about maybe Khalil Ware in the NBA draft who had a good workout. Hopefully we're talking about some big Indiana baseball wins from over the weekend as well. Come back on Monday and we'll have a great episode for you. Until then, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.